guys, welcome back to Spelling and Word Study. My name is Mrs. Rhodes and I'm here to get you started on Unit 32, Hard and Soft G. Please take a second to gather your materials. You will need your blue book open to page 197. You'll also need some colorful pens, markers, or crayons. Remember, whatever I mark on my board, you should be marking on your page. Please save room for a key as well. You'll notice that I've already gone ahead and broken all of our words into syllables using these purple vertical lines. I've also used check marks to show which syllable is stressed in each of our words. Remember, the stressed syllable is the part of the word we say a little bit louder and a little bit stronger. So the last 2 weeks we talked about soft C. We know that soft C makes a S sound and is always followed by the letters E, I, or Y. Well, this week we're going to talk about soft G. And the nice thing is soft G follows all the same rules as soft C. Soft G makes a J sound and it is always followed by the letters E, I, or Y. You will see several examples of soft G this week. Now we're also talking about hard G. You learned this sound back in kindergarten. You know that G says G. However, there are times where we want that G, that hard G sound, to be followed by a short E or a short I, or a long E or a long I sound, and we don't want that E or I softening the G. So in those cases, we put a U in there as a buffer. Do you see that in guitar? It keeps some space between the G and the I so that the G doesn't get softened. And we see that again in the word vague, where that E is trying to make the A long. We need that U to buffer the G and the E. We'll talk about that more in a minute. Let's start by reading our list. Please repeat after me. Angel, budget, digest, digit, disguise, fatigue, fidget, gesture, giant, guitar, league, margin, rigid, urgent, vague. Okay, in each of those words you should have heard either a hard G sound or a soft J sound. All right, so let's choose a color. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look for words that use that G-E combination to make a J sound. So we see it right here in angel. Now notice that E has two jobs. Not only is it softening the G, but it's also making a schwa sound. Angel, o. Okay? The same thing happens here in budget. That E is softening the G and it's making a schwa sound. Now in digest, it is softening the G, but because it is the stressed syllable, we can actually hear that short E, sound. All right, in fidget, that E makes a schwa, sound. But in gesture, it's back to making that short E, because it's in the stressed syllable. Notice these soft G's are showing up in stressed and unstressed syllables, but that is affecting the sound that the E makes. Okay, and then last but not least, in urgent, again in our unstressed syllable, that E is making a schwa sound. Okay, so over here, blue box represents that GE combination, and that GE combination is either making a J sound, the schwa, right? Or it's making a J sound if it's in the stressed syllable. Okay, let's choose another color. And this time let's look for GI because we know that I can also soften the G. So we see it here in digit. Notice in digit that I is softening the G, but it's in the unstressed syllable, so it's making that sound, right? That same exact sound that the E was making in these words. Okay, in giant, the I is making a long I sound. Notice it's in the stressed syllable, so that I has two jobs. In margin, we have another schwa. In rigid, we have another schwa. And I think that's it. Okay, so for our purple boxes, all of those words contain GI, but that GI is either making a schwa sound, J, right? Same sound as the GE, or as we see in giant, it's making a long I sound. So anything in the purple box is either saying J or Ji. So GE is soft, GI is soft, GY is also soft. Now I don't have any examples for you on this list, but I think you're already familiar with this. You've seen words like gym or gymnast, and you've seen that GY at the end of a word like fudgy, okay? So just file that away. When you see that GY combination, it's going to be soft. Okay, let's talk about our hard G now, okay? So let's look at a word like disguise. Right here, we have GUI, and it's the G is hard and the I is long. Now, we also see GUI in guitar. Again, that U is separating the G and the I, so it's keeping the G hard, but this time the I, is not, it's short, guitar. Okay, so over here, green box equals GUI, and depending on what else is happening in the word, it can either make a long I sound, guy, or it can make a short I sound, get. Okay, so nothing tricky there. We're just reminding ourselves that that U is acting as a buffer zone to keep the G and the I separate. Now we see this with GE words as well. Think about the word guess or the word guest. Did you ever wonder why those U's were there? You can't hear them. They're just acting as a buffer between the G and the E to keep that G hard. Okay, let's see if we see any examples this week. Let's choose another color. And we see it right here in the word vague. Notice that E is silent. What it's trying to do is jump over the consonant to make the A long, right? It's trying to be a silent E. So right there we have vague, and it's just making a G sound. We see this again in league. Notice that U and E are silent. They're just helping the G say G. Now, why do we have that E there if we already have a vowel team? I don't know. I will tell you, though, that we have very few words in our language that end with a G by itself. when we're trying to end a 2 or 3 syllable word with that g sound, it often ends with UE. Think about dialogue, catalog, monologue, okay? I know that 1 syllable words like leg and big and hog can end with G, but bigger words usually end with GUE. So we see that with league. Now, we also see it in fatigue. Okay, notice what's happening here. The I is actually making a long E sound, and that's because that comes from another language. You know that in many other languages, I makes an E sound. Okay, I think we got all that. So the important thing we want to remember is that when a word ends with GUE, it's just going to make a G sound. A lot of letters for one little sound, okay? In shorter words, it's also going to make that short E sound in guess or guessed. Okay, so lots to think about, right? What I want to do now is go through our list and talk about the meanings of our words. So, let's start with angel. An angel is a noun. It's a heavenly being. You've seen angels before. They have a halo, they have wings, they're supposed to protect us, right? Maybe we have a guardian angel that looks out for us. So we're just going to call that a heavenly being. Okay, a budget is also a noun, although you can use it as a verb. A budget is a spending plan. So let's say you get a job babysitting for your neighbors and you're bringing home $100 a week. Well, you need a plan for that money. Are you going to put some of it in the bank? Are you going to spend some of it on fun? Are you going to donate some of it to a charity? Are you going to use some of it to buy birthday gifts for your family members? When you come up with that plan and you figure out how you're going to divide up your money, you are making a budget. You are budgeting your money. To digest is also a verb. If you digest something, you break down. So to digest is to break down. And the two things that we usually digest are food or info. So when you eat an apple, it's going to go from your mouth, through your esophagus, through your small intestines and large intestines. This whole system is your digestive system, and its job is to digest or break down food so that you can use it, so your body can pull out the vitamins, the nutrients, and the water. So we also digest information, though. When you're reading your textbook about the water cycle, let's say, you need to digest that information. You need to break it down so that it makes sense to you. Okay, a digit can mean two different things. We can talk about a number, right? Like if I say that 52 is a 2-digit number, that means it has a 5 and a 2. If I say that 800 is a 3-digit number, its digits are 8, 0, and 0. That's one kind of digit. But a digit can also be a finger or a toe. So right now I'm holding up 5 digits. Okay, a disguise is a thing. You can also use this as a verb. A disguise is a fake appearance. If a movie star wants to run to the store and they don't want people to recognize them, they might put on a disguise, a baseball cap, dark sunglasses, right? It's kind of like a costume so that people don't know who they are. That is their disguise. They are disguising their appearance. Fatigue is extreme tiredness, exhaustion. Some illnesses cause fatigue, right? Some diseases cause fatigue. They make you so tired you don't even have the strength to get out of bed. Fidget is a verb. When you fidget, you move your body, you squirm. There are different reasons why people fidget. Sometimes little kids fidget because they're bored, right? Because they can't sit still any longer. Sometimes we fidget because our clothes are uncomfortable. Maybe there's a scratchy tag. Maybe the belt's too tight, and so we're moving our body to try to get comfortable. So when somebody fidgets, it's usually a sign that they are feeling uncomfortable. A gesture is a movement. It can also be used as a verb. So waving is a gesture, thumbs up, pointing, doing this. These are all gestures. So they are body movements that have meaning, okay? When I go like this, people know that I'm saying, I don't know, right? That is a gesture. Giant can be a thing if we're talking about a giant, a really, really tall person. Think about Jack and the Beanstalk, right? Jack climbed up the beanstalk and then met the huge giant. But it can also be used as a describing word if we're talking about something that's very big, right? So sometimes I go to the store and instead of buying a small bag of rice, I buy the giant bag, the really, really big bag, because I know I'll use it. A guitar is an instrument that you strum. A league is a group of teams. So you might be part of a baseball league. Maybe there are 8 different teams in your league and you all take turns playing against each other. A margin is an edge of a paper. So when you're writing on your paper, you try not to go all the way to the edge. You try to leave that margin, that space around it. If you're typing something on the computer, like a Word document, you can set your margin so that there's either a lot of white space or just a little bit. Rigid is a describing word. Rigid means firm or not flexible. We can use this to describe things. Like for instance, I was just on Amazon looking for some kind of wagon or cart that I can bring to the beach. And they have 2 different kinds. They have some that have hard plastic sides. Those are rigid. But then they have others that have cloth sides. And what's nice about those is they're bendable, collapsible. They take up less space. Right? So you can get something that has rigid sides or something that has soft, flexible sides. By the way, we can also use this word to describe people. Some people are flexible, they're just easygoing, go with the flow. Other people are very rigid. They like things set a certain way. I must get up at 7 a.m. I must eat oatmeal for breakfast. I must be back in my bed by 8 at night. Those people tend to be rigid, or at least they hold themselves to a rigid schedule. Urgent is another adjective. If something's urgent, you must take care of it now because it's very important. So let's say you wake up on a Sunday morning and you have 103 fever and you have a rash all over your body, okay? That's going to make your parents nervous. They're not going to wait until Monday to call your doctor. They're going to take you to an urgent care center, a walk-in clinic that can see you now. Because if something's urgent, you have to deal with it now. You can't wait. Okay, and then the last one is vague, and that's also an adjective. If something's vague, it's not clear. It's kind of fuzzy. So if I call my friend and say, hey, do you want to go out to dinner next week? She says, yeah, that sounds great. See you later. And we hang up. We have just made vague plans. We don't know where we're going, which day, what time, right? Our plans are very vague. They're not clear. Okay, before I let you go, I do want to draw your attention to a new root, and actually 2 new roots. They are on page 200. The first root is FRAC, F-R-A-C, and FRAG. Whenever you see a word that contains either of these chunks, it probably has something to do with breaking, right? Think about if you fall off the monkey bars and you fracture your arm, it means you've broken it, or at least broken it, like cracked it, right? So that would be fracture. Last week I dropped this little porcelain jewelry box off my dresser. It shattered. Just yesterday morning I found a fragment under the bed. A fragment is just a little piece of it. So we have fracture, we have fragment. If something's fragile, it breaks easily. Notice that this chunk can either have a hard G or a soft G. Fragment has a hard G, fragile has a soft G. It depends on the letter that comes next. We don't have any examples on the board, but that's okay. Another root that you're going to learn is GEST, G-E-S-T. And when you see this root, it has something to do with carrying. So for instance, the word gesture, it's something we do with our hands or our body. It's a way we communicate. It's a movement that carries meaning. We also have the word digest. When you digest your food, you break it down so that you can carry it through your body to all the different parts of your body, right? An apple by itself isn't going to help your fingernails grow, right? It's not going to make your hair look good. You have to digest it so then you can carry those nutrients to your fingertips and your hair. So we have other words like suggest, congested. Think about it, when your nose is congested, you're carrying a lot of extra fluid in there. All right, so in both of these cases, you're going to match the word with its definition. I'm sure you'll do fine. All right, that's all I have for you today. Good luck, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.